authenticity. Just knowing thyself enough to be yourself. That's the name of the game.
That's the name of the game.
Like, I really think, remember how they're like, well, what is the meaning of life? Like, let's rack our brain over the meaning of life. It's like knowing yourself, being yourself, and just being. Yeah. Not trying to be somebody else.
Yeah, I think it's easy to get caught up in, we used to like, philosophers trying to figure out what the meaning of life is. Right. You can't even get to that point where you can conceptualize that without just knowing yourself.
Just knowing yourself.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out everybody else's shit or going with the herd.
Like the way I kind of put it is like, it's like trying to it's like kind of like the ego trying to understand the self is the same thing as a child trying to understand the responsibility it takes to take care of themselves. They can't do it until they grow up and become an adult and learn who they are, and they're like, oh, that's what it's like. Right.
And that's a perfect metaphor because all of this shit usually happens before you're 8 and you kind of repress it or suppress it.
As you mature physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, boom, you're able to look back in your old self.
Or you don't heal your wounds and you end up bleeding on the people that didn't cut you and you're yelling at people in your 30s and your 20s.
That's a giant child.
Because fucking daddy didn't love me and walked out on me, and now I have fear and guilt, shame, blame, regret. So I take it out on myself and everybody else.
So, yeah.
Or we become aware of that and we take personal responsibility to heal ourselves so we can have a better world. And, we always talk about there's a million different, be the change and whatever. I love the Ram Dass shit where it's like the best thing you can do for me and the world is work on your shit. And the best thing I can do for you in the world is work on my shit. Because you can only control yourself. You can only heal yourself. Only. So you raise your vibration, heal your wounds, get better every single day, and now the world just got better. Energy ball. Welcome back to the Bridge Podcast. I'm Sean Nixon.
Jonathan Matthew.
How the hell are you feeling today, man?
Today's a good day, my friend.
Every day's the best day. Today, every day is the best goddamn day of your life.
A day is the construct of time.
That's all. Yeah, time is construct. That's a bunch of nonsense. But it's the best day ever if you decide it, and I've already declared it. Therefore, it is.
I declare today the best day of all existence.
It's true.
Sean Nixon.
Might fuck around and do the same thing tomorrow.
Hey-o.
You never know.
What's tomorrow?
Monday. Well, tomorrow. Yeah, right. Tomorrow, another concept.
Yeah.
So anyway, Monday, which is another concept.
Constructs on constructs on constructs.
Games within the game. We talked about Sir Isaac Newton's laws of motion and how they applied to fitness, right? But pretty much physical fitness as far as sports performance, running and lifting weights and whatnot. So this is going to be the Bridges laws of emotion. Okay? Because that's going to get you into your mental, emotional, and eventually spiritual practices so we can have all the layers of health, have formulas to success. All right? So these are going to be your 3 laws to success for mental and emotional health and wellness.
Based off Sir Isaac Newton?
Yeah, we're stealing his concepts.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the thing you need to know. Emotion is emotion, energy in motion. Okay? Everything is energy. Emotions are energy. You are energy. The fucking table is energy.
How is that, Sean?
Thoughts are energy. Because everything is connected through the energetic field. Everything is vibration. Okay? That's in the I Ching and shit, and with I believe it's Taoist, you would know more than me. The translation is like everything is sound, which is everything is vibration. Everything is everything.
I mean, light waves or energy waves, anything that's a wave, X-ray or waves.
Waves and particles are all energy.
Some more densely packed than others, but it's all vibrating, right?
Okay.
If there's a vibration, there's a wave.
What you need to know, So what you need to know is you are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. So we're going to give formulas to become aware and detach from those things and different practices. All right? So energy and motion. So Newton's first law that he realized was an object in motion stays in motion, and an object at rest stays at rest unless acted upon by an external unbalanced force, right? So what we're saying is an emotion remains in its state of rest or motion until acted upon by an unbalanced force, right? So an emotion at rest is emotions dormant within you, okay? An emotion in motion is flowing through you. So point being is everything you come in contact with, every person, place, thing, circumstance, event is a trigger or a mirror to emotions and feelings within you.
Yeah.
Okay? Everybody you meet that says or does something and you're like, she made me feel this way, he made me feel this way. No, they didn't. They did what they did. Phenomena is always going to keep happening. You reacted the way that you reacted. So the point is, when you detach from that and have a mindfulness practice, you can choose to respond any way you want instead of emotionally reacting to your triggers all the time.
Yeah, like you said use the words dormant and flowing, right? So like one way to kind of conceptualize it or visualize it is thinking of water as the emotion and a faucet or a hose as the vessel, as you, right? So there's no coincidence that water is tied to emotion in terms of
flowing.
Yeah, in Eastern philosophy as well. The zodiacs, Ayurveda, water is in the emotion.
Can't beat the river into
That's
submission.
all connected.
You got to go with the flow.
So that emotion's always there, right? You have a faucet. The water doesn't come from the thing when you turn it on. It's there. It's ready.
The pressure's always ready to go.
Pressure's always there, right? It's just when you turn it open, then it starts to flow, right? So we said dormant. That water's there. It's when we allow it to flow. It's in motion. Unless, what's the unbalanced forces acting upon it? It's us turning the faucet on, turning it off, pinching it off if we're a hose, or letting it go.
It's your choice to not only turn that faucet on and let it flow, but whether it's going to be hot water, cold water, whether you're going to let that emotion eat you up, or whether you're going to transmute it and process it in a healthy way.
And like what's the reason why you would choke off an emotion, right? It's a fear. It's a fear of what?
Always.
Of burning my hand in that hot water, or if that water is too cold, it chills me out, right? So
always
it's just a fear reaction.
And I like what you said when you were like, it's like kinking a hose and you think you're doing a good thing. You're like, oh, I'm stopping this negative emotion. But it's like Bugs Bunny where behind him the hose is fucking blowing up and the pipe is going to burst.
Yep.
The pressure bursts pipes. So you have to let it flow.
Let things flow, man.
All right? So once again, you are not your emotions, and other people are doing what they do based upon their feelings and they have
their own faucets. They're releasing faucet. Whether they were aware of it or not.
They might be spewing hot water all over you, but that's not your fault. That's
what t-shirt contest out here.
That's their shit that they have to work on. When you see your trigger of anger, sadness, anxiety, depression, whatever, you should be grateful because that's where the work is. That's where you're not free, and that's where you have things to work on. That's a gift. Your anger is a gift. Your depression, your anxiety, these can be gifts when they come in.
Yeah, side note on that, we just said to read the book The Wisdom of Anxiety by Alan Watts.
Oh, yeah.
Not regret. There's lots of wisdom, like you said, learning to be involved in the things you suppress, the water you kink off in your emotions.
Yep. When they show up at the door, you invite them in for tea.
That's what Buddha did.
With them, right? Yeah. And what's that, the Buddha? He was like, if you're meditating.
Mara came and he's like, yeah, come have tea with me. The demon Mara. And he's like,
nobody ever said this to me before. I'm usually the boogeyman on motherfuckers. You're like, nah, come in, dog. Let's talk about it. But you got a problem?
Yeah, let's go.
Because I don't have a problem.
Pour some tea.
Right. So if you want to talk about something, let's talk it out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fucking push you away and have you come haunt me later down the road.
Milarepa, another Buddhist sage, the demons in the cave, a bunch of demons came to him while he's meditating, trying to push out, like greed, lust, all these things that are coming at him hard. So he goes, so at first he says, you guys should come over more often. I can teach you about Buddhism. And then almost all of them disappear, except the one scariest one. And he goes over to the one scariest one, opens his mouth, puts his head in, and as soon as he does that, the demon disappears, right?
Oh, so
that's intense stuff.
Right at it, yeah.
It's like, this ball's in your court, bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, your move.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? But if you run, you can't run and you can't hide, all right? So what you try to do right, is what I used to, let me speak for myself, is I used to suppress emotions.
Push
so
it
it was
down
like, okay,
consciously.
somebody's trying to love me, but I don't trust them because I have trust issues. So I'm going to shove that down and not feel good feelings. Or there's anger bubbling up under the surface, and that's just like, anger is just some spicy fear, so I'm going to push that down too and fucking sweep it under the rug, and the pile under the rug gets real big real quick. Or there's also repression, where you have repressed emotions that you're kind of doing unconsciously.
Yeah, you don't even know childhood trauma that you can't, that's buried deep because of how traumatic it was, right?
And those things will lead to either unhealthy coping mechanisms of porn, too much sex, video games, too much food, and usually drug addictions. Been there. Or exploding your emotions and taking everything out on everybody else, which we've all seen and we've all done, but other people do it more than others, right? So the formula, instead of using unhealthy coping mechanisms, and I also would like to say, it's not that sex or food or certain drugs are bad, it's your intentions with them.
It's your relationship, right? So your relationship to food. If you need food to survive, right? Food is good. Food can be good. It's just your relationship that is
the
not
emotion
good.
and energy you're attaching to it.
Yeah,
if I'm eating because I'm sad versus eating because I'm celebrating life, big difference.
And that's a reflection of how you relate to yourself by what we'll get into later, the awareness of yourself and your emotions, right?
Well, that's what we're saying. So instead of suppressing, repressing, pushing down, saying fuck all that and letting it eat you up and exploding on other people or exploding on yourself, imploding, or going to unhealthy coping mechanisms, what you can do is sit with it, allow the emotions to flow through and feel them, right? And then you just observe them, because you are not your emotions, right? So if you become the observer of the emotions, you're just like, oh, that's interesting. What can I learn from this? And you detach from them.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you have a really good friend who's going through a hard time, right? And they start talking to you about all their crazy shit.
It's a great example.
You don't immediately attach to that and start grieving. You are able to look at it from an objective. You notice how you always give better advice to other people than yourself,
right?
Say
that. And it's the most fucked up motherfuckers, us included, that have empathy and compassion for others. And it's like, oh, I don't want to talk about my shit, but tell me about your shit.
Yeah, but it's so much easier to observe because you're taking an objective standpoint. You can see the bigger picture even though they can't. So all you're doing is pulling out a Sean or pulling out a John to sit next to you.
Yes, right. So do that to yourself. That's a mindfulness practice. The easiest way to do that is through daily meditation, because you can observe your thoughts and realize that, you think everything is gray and cloudy, and you're like, oh, I'm just a gray cloud, this sucks. But once you realize that clouds are always coming and going, and eventually clouds move and you see the blue sky, and you're like, oh, I'm actually the blue sky. And then you identify with the sky, and the clouds just come and go.
The sun is always shining.
Sun is always shining. Sometimes it's cloudy.
Yeah.
The sun, that's perfect. The sun is literally always out.
Whether it's nighttime or daytime,
the sun is burning.
The sun's always burning.
The sun's always burning.
It doesn't turn off.
The sun doesn't turn off.
It's on dimmer or switch.
It might be nighttime. It might be cloudy.
Somewhere it's sunny.
Somewhere it's sunny. All right? So what you want to do is detach from those emotions, observe them, let them flow through you, and then you can process them in a healthy, authentic way. Okay?
Yeah, another technique I like for like the observation, right? So meditation is like the best practice. When I say the best, best, better, worse. More optimal. It's the one that I think it's the simplest because it's the best because it is the simplest. What I meant to say.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because like you said, mindfulness practice. What that is just a reflection of your meditation practice. Mindfulness is your ability to detach, be aware of your thoughts, right? One really good way to do that is through like self-narration or self-journaling. So talking about yourself in a third person, or saying, like if you get on a thought train, you can self-narration be like, John was just thinking about so and so and so.
Yeah.
So immediately I've already detached myself from John and his thoughts. So now I can observe and say, that's interesting. That's where curiosity comes in. Where now I can explore. Now we're acting like a scientist here, where Newton wasn't like, this apple hit me on the head. Apples are dumb. I'm angry. He's
I hate the apple.
This is interesting, right? That's what he said.
This is interesting. What can we learn from this?
So do that with your thoughts and your emotions.
Man,
study.
I love that, because I am at the point where I understand that we are all one and we're all connected and we're all the same. But my journey, my soul's journey in this incarnation is observing Sean. I watch Sean all day.
How's he doing?
He's doing great. He had a a lot of adversity that he went through, and he's finally observing and realizing now that that's made him where he is, and everything happened for a reason, and that was for his purpose. And the joke would be, and this might be real, that the universe and God told him that, we got a nice mission for you. There's going to be some child abuse, mental health issues, drug addiction, obesity, and we're going to fucking sign you up for this horrible broken home family. But don't worry, it's just what you need for
Here's
your soul journey.
Yeah.
And I strapped on the parachute like fucking Captain America.
Yeah.
There's only one God, ma'am. And just jumped out.
That's it.
Just jumped out of the plane, and here I am. So through all that, now the purpose and the mission is to learn from all that and give back to others. So even though we are all the same and we're all connected, I observe and I watch Sean on a daily basis. Sometimes you got to look away and you're like, holy shit,
Sean,
what the fuck did he do? Like, look at this guy. But you try not to judge yourself just like you don't judge other people. But sometimes even the soul is like, oh.
And then wouldn't you say in that practice of now learning how to observe yourself, you're able to better observe others and you're better able to help others?
Oh, of course. That is the exact point, and I love it. So that's the point. I think this is also goes into we always talk about Viktor Frankl and Man's Search for Meaning. Vicky Franks was like, listen, I might be in Auschwitz in a fucking concentration camp, but they can't take away my mental freedom, right? So the other people can't make me, even in the worst circumstances on paper, negative situations, they can't take away my love and my freedom and my joy.
Yeah, I'm going to paraphrase the quote here, but it's the last of the true freedoms is for man to choose his own meaning, to choose his own way, to choose his attitude in the face of circumstance.
Circumstance happens, and then there's that period of time where you get to act, react, or take a deep breath.
This is a guy who was in Auschwitz, who was in concentration camps, has seen some horrible stuff if you've read the book. And think about, and not poo-pooing on anybody else's thing. This is just a way to put in perspective, right?
Nobody wins in the Oppression Olympics when you compare.
Exactly.
But that's a pretty fucking serious thing.
I think he's winning over a lot of people.
He's got a couple of gold medals in oppression.
Over what many of us, not all of us, complain about.
Yeah, Holocaust, genocide, slavery.
That's a rough one to get through. And not just to get through, but to get through with it and learn from it and create a whole system, logotherapy, about how mindfulness, but meaning and understanding of the human life and human experience.
Coming out better. Just because shit happens doesn't mean that I got to cry about it.
Changed millions of lives because of what he was able to learn and observe by detaching and by choosing his own way.
And that's why we're here. All right? So Newton's second law was F equals ma, force equals mass times acceleration. So I related that to looking at bar speed and rate of perceived exertion when you're exercising in the gym, right? So our equation for the second law of E-motion is suffering equals pain times your resistance to it, okay? So in Buddhism, what's the first thing they talk about? Suffering is inevitable, all of life is suffering, right? Yep. But how much of that, right? So painful situations, physical, mental, emotional pain,
slap your face.
Anything happens, your resistance to it, instead of your awareness and acceptance of it, is going to multiply to how much suffering you actually experience and go through.
And that ties in to that first one, right? The amount that you press down on that hose is the amount of pressure that's going to build up, right?
I'm just going to push it down, and resist.
So what would you say is, pain, like you said, pain, physical, emotional, mental pain, spiritual pain, potentially even too, right? And the resistance to it, it's a big word, right? And like, it's a weird thing to describe, right? What that resistance is. We all know that feeling of resistance. Do you have any of your techniques for dealing with resistance? I know you have a couple.
Well, just awareness first. So the order of operations that you would go into is awareness. So many people are suffering and they're unaware. They're just having a shit time and they don't know why. Then the next step is acceptance, right? So many people are aware and they're like, oh, this always happens and I always do this, and this happens and then I do this. I get sad and I eat too much. I get sad and I watch porn. I get sad and I sleep with guys I don't like. I get sleep with girls I don't like. I eat too much food. I do coke. I do cigarettes. I drink.
Yeah.
Right? But then you're not accepting it and letting it go. Okay? So awareness first, and then acceptance to not resist. All right?
So that other way to put that be surrender, essentially.
Surrender,
right?
And letting go.
Right. So that's like it happens simultaneously, those two things, acceptance and letting go. As soon as you let go of one thing, you're by the nature of duality, accepting another thing.
Precisely,
right?
which is what we're talking about as far as equal and opposite reaction and force equal mass times acceleration. Because in the equation, if acceleration was 0, then force would be 0.
That's correct.
Right? So if resistance, your resistance, what you're in control of is 0, suffering is going to be close to 0.
When we say resistance, like it's not necessarily like
physical resistance.
Physical resistance.
No, it's your suppression and repression, or your willingness to not accept and let go.
Yeah.
Right? So 2 quick practices to answer your question on that is breathing meditation, like a mantra that I would breathe in through my nose and say let, and exhale forcefully and say go. Forcefully. So I'm just saying, let go as a mantra through each breath, let go. And as a mindfulness practice, when there's a story in your head, there's a lot of bullshit stories. And here's another news flash. Just because you have a thought does not mean it's true.
Yeah.
Just because you have a thought does not mean it's true. But some stories did actually happen. So what I say in my mindfulness practice is, can't change it. So if you can't change it, it's easy to let it go or accept it. It's easy to have acceptance. Okay, that really did happen and that sucked. Can't change it.
Yeah.
So why should I put so much energy into feeding into it? So you can't change it. So awareness, become aware of these emotions and triggers. Acceptance. Then you got integration or transmutation. Okay? Transmutation, I'm sorry. Integration.
What's in this cup here, buddy?
Yeah, well, not enough. Integration or transmutation, okay? So point being is, once you're aware of something, and then you accept that you can't change it, then you can do a couple of different things. The work then is to transmute whatever anger into creative expression, or transmute sadness into just awareness and healthy grieving. What you got a definition or a practice for integration or transmutation?
Yeah, the transmutation as the main process of alchemy, the ancient practice of alchemy.
That's literally what we're talking about here, is alchemizing the energy, negative energy, into a positive vibration.
Yeah, alchemy, for those who don't know, because it's one of those esoteric things, which it definitely is the precursor to modern day chemistry. So it was both a physical science, dealing with elements and the creation, but also there's a spiritual component of that as well, which is the transformation, personal transformation, the spiritual transformation, as represented through this physical practice.
Well, in school, they'd be like, well, they tried to turn lead into gold, and that's bullshit, so I don't believe it. But I can turn fucking anger and sadness and pessimism into optimism.
Exactly. So like the 3 processes or 3 steps, if you want to break it down, of transmutation, would be preparation. So that would include being aware of what you need, aware of what is, and then deconstruction, which is we're tearing it apart, right? Or breaking everything down to its base element, and then reconstruction, taking those base elements and reconstructing them in a way that creates gold, right?
Turns from like a different perspective, essentially.
Yes. So if you want to relate that to like an emotion, right? Like you said, anger, right? It's a big one, especially for guys too. We can take that emotion, break it down to the roots. Now we're getting to the root of your anger.
Asking questions.
Yeah, so get curious about it, right? So that's the preparation. Alchemists are scientists, essentially, at their root, right? So we're 100%. Getting curious about what's that anger made of.
Why am I angry? Where did it come from?
Yeah, it's like corn husk. I'm peeling away everything, right? So what's at the center of this thing? Once I find all the components of my anger and how they're organized, well, now I can just redistribute those around. Now, what can I build with those individual components? If it's anger over so what somebody did to me a long time based on an emotion that I felt when I was young, those are all different components. So now once I get to that root element, that base element, that's where we can make gold. Because we're all atoms, right? At the heart of it. So if we can break everything down to what an atom is.
And those atoms cannot be created nor destroyed. But you can alchemize them into something different.
Going back to the water metaphor, because we like water here. Hydration is important.
Yes. Flow like water.
Yeah, and water, you pour it out of the hose, right? It goes into the ground, gets absorbed into solids. Those solids, that water is still there, but it's just changing form, right? And water evaporates, it changes form.
Different states.
But it's still water.
It's beautiful.
Right? It's a different expression of your anger.
Different expression of the anger. So that's what we want to do. Healthily and, more important, authentically express it. So find your truth. Sing your song. Be authentically true to yourself. That's what I love. My girl Teal Swan was like, the new enlightenment is authenticity. Just knowing thyself enough to be yourself. That's the name of the game.
That's the name of the game.
Like, I really think, remember how they're like, well, what is the meaning of life? Like, let's rack our brain over the meaning of life. It's like, knowing yourself, being yourself, and just being.
Yeah.
Not trying to be somebody else.
Yeah, I think it's easy to get caught up in, we used to like, philosophers trying to figure out what the meaning of life is.
Right.
You can't even get to that point where you can conceptualize that without just knowing yourself.
Just knowing yourself.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out everybody else's shit or going with the herd.
Like the way I kind of put it is like it's like trying to it's like kind of like the ego trying to understand the self is the same thing as a child trying to understand the responsibility it takes to take care of themselves. They can't do it until they grow up and become an adult and learn who they are, and they're like, oh, that's what it's like. Right.
And that's a perfect metaphor because all this shit usually happens before you're 8 and you kind of repress it or suppress it.
As you mature physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually,
Boom.
You're able to look back at your old self.
Or you don't heal your wounds and you end up bleeding on the people that didn't cut you and you're yelling at people in your 30s and your 20s.
As a giant child.
Because fucking daddy didn't love me and walked out on me, and now I have fear and guilt, shame, blame, regret. So I take it out on myself and everybody else.
Yeah.
Or we become aware of that and we take personal responsibility to heal ourselves so we can have a better world. And we always talk about there's a million different, be the change and whatever. I love the Ram Dass shit where it's like the best thing you can do for me and the world is work on your shit. And the best thing I can do for you in the world is work on my shit. Because you can only control yourself. You can only heal yourself. Only. So you raise your vibration, heal your wounds, get better every single day, and now the world just got better.
Yeah, it's not about you, man. It's about us. When you know who who you are, you understand what us really means. But
you, me, we.
And Dupree.
That's it. You, me, we. Muhammad Ali said that. He figured some shit out.
Yeah, he's a smart guy.
All right. So if something is true, it is always true. And that's how you know it's true. So when you have thoughts in your head and you're like, I'm a piece of shit, I'm not good enough, I'm this, I'm that, take a step back, detach from that thought.
Were you good enough once?
That thought. Right. Is this always true? No, then it's not true. It's just a story that you're telling, that you're not in control of the stories that run, but you are in control of which ones you give power and feed and believe.
Yeah.
Don't believe your own bullshit. Certainly don't believe other people's bullshit, because if you're believing other people's bullshit, you're a neophyte in this game, you're a rookie. But believing your own bullshit sounds believable because it's coming from a voice in your own head. But that's not you.
It's literally like if you're a really, really intense, hardcore method actor, right? If you're Daniel Day-Lewis and you're in a role for 6 months walking around like Abraham Lincoln, you might have a hard time to forget that you're not Lincoln, though.
Right. And you're doing your best to act like Lincoln, but you ain't Lincoln.
Because you're playing the role.
You're playing a role, but that doesn't mean that a part of you temporarily isn't Lincoln. You know what I mean? Like ego is a part of you, but it's not who you are.
Yeah.
Like when your ego is saying shit in your head, good or bad, negative or positive, doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah, I mean, the thoughts are just kind of a manifestation of, or an amalgamation, I think is a better term, of what your persona is. And Alan Watts' great lecture talks about persona. The root word persona is mask, because in ancient times they would wear a mask. Persona directly...
so instead of saying ego, we're saying persona. And persona means the mask you wear.
Yeah, the translation was like the thing that the sound comes out of, right?
Whoa.
So we're talking about sound and vibration again.
Yes.
Some connections here, right? But it's the mask you wear, right? That's the persona.
The role you're playing.
The role you're playing, right? To be or not to be. Shakespeare knew some stuff too, right?
Big time.
All the world's a stage, right? So we're all acting some shit. Acting the fool.
But you don't kill the ego or dissolve the persona. You become aware of it. So at home, and once again, Japanese culture says you have 3 masks. You have the mask you wear at like the office in public. Oh, you're politically correct mask. This is who I am, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Then the people closest to you see like one mask peeled off, but only you see the naked no mask, the inside, the inner work, the shadow, the ego, the whole self, right? And your inner self and your higher self. And that's the most important deep work to do, because once you integrate those and know that those are part of you but not you, then you can play any role or any persona and do anything you want with this avatar.
Do anything. That's what radical freedom is knowing who you really are, right?
And then that's how you get to authenticity. choosing the role that's truest to you instead of playing a role that your parents want or society wants or you've been tricked or brainwashed into.
Yeah, I forget who posted this, so apologize for not giving attribution to the quote. It might have been the holistic psychologist who's on some real stuff right there.
Phenomenal.
But it's like so much of what we identify as is what people attribute our positively to. Like it's like your positive attributes that someone pushed on you, whether they're real to you or not, but you play up because you feel a positive reaction to it, right? Like I'm going to use an example for myself because I know that was kind of wordy and not hard to understand.
Yes. Specifics.
I'm a natural introvert, right? But there's one time in high school where like I made this, like, I think it might have been like at prom or something like that. Like I made this with a group of friends I don't usually hang out with, right? So, but I was acting very extroverted and like funny in a certain way. So I got identified as that by those people. And I remember thinking like, well, now I have to be this way
around that group.
Yeah, because I'm so like it was a positive moment where I made people laugh and stuff like that.
But not necessarily
necessarily authentically me,
not
right?
your authentic
But it's easy
self.
to get those confused because I got rewarded for that, right?
Dude, that's a perfect example because I did
super
that shit
simple,
all the time.
super simple,
dude,
but
I was Chris Farley, dude, because I got attention
Dude,
from...
I was the Robin Williams.
dude. And guess what happened to those guys?
That's what happened to those guys.
They
right?
didn't make it.
Yeah.
Because everyone thought they're perfect, they're happy, they're the funny guy. John's so smart and so witty with the little voice and the Robin Williams shit. And Sean will fucking take off his shirt with his beer belly and funnel 14 beers and fucking roll a blunt with his eyes closed. And everybody thought that Robin Williams was the coolest and he's perfect and Chris Farley's perfect because they're funny.
Yeah.
And they were suffering from their own demons that they didn't work on. And it fucking ended up
Side
eating them
tangent,
alive.
because Robin Williams is one of my favorite
Please.
comedians, actors, because I watched a documentary after he passed away. But people who were like, very close to him, like I forget, the one quote really stuck out to me because I'm like, oh, this was me for a lot of my life. Was, like when it was just you and Robin, he became very, very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But as soon as there was a third person, he became an audience.
Yes.
And so now he could play the role again.
Dude.
And it was night and day because I forget who it was. Yeah, me too, right? Because it's like, this is why we know how this is so authentic because it's just the two of us, but we can be completely real.
Oh, this wouldn't have worked 10 years ago.
No, because I've always said...
It may have been funny, but it wouldn't have been fitness or deep or authentic.
No.
We still would have been funny.
Yeah. Because I always remember thinking in my head, like in groups of three, I feel the most comfortable. Naturally, as a kid and growing up, because I have a little bit of an audience to play
I was
off
never even aware of that, but that's so true now that you say it.
right? And probably for most people, too, not just me, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's very rare to find, like... I'm not entirely
I've
rare,
seen
but-
it go the other way where it's negative, where people are cool when they're one-on-one, and then a third person comes, and then they start making fun of the third person and outcast them.
100%.
But it's the same thing. It's the
It's
reciprocal.
just
of
the
that.
inverse, yeah.
It's the inverse of that.
You got to be somebody.
So,
you got to play your
yeah.
role when the audience is around, right? So
Play your role when there's an audience. But that's why Jesus went into the desert for 40 days and Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree to know thyself, to do the inner work. Because when you know yourself, everything else can't fuck with you.
oh, you want to put this mask on me? No thanks.
Yeah. No thanks. I got my own. I keep
have
it in my
one.
back pocket. Yeah, I'm good. Like I'll take mine off if you want.
You guys know you're not the mask, right?
Yeah. Well, that's another. I'll pretend who you think you are if you pretend who you think I am.
Let's shake on it.
And we'll shake on it, and we'll just acting, rules, and go. It's like, or you get to know somebody, and maybe have the courage and strength to be a little vulnerable, and take off your mask.
That's the one thing. That's funny you bring that up, and we're talking about this because I didn't even mean to bring this up, but like something I just practiced different mindfulness techniques and just see if they work or not. That's the only way to know. Get curious, right?
Sure is.
So the acting thing, because I really like that, and I want to delve more into Shakespeare's like philosophical stuff because I know enough about the plays, but like I never studied him, in terms of that stuff. But I was playing around with, and we got persona, and you're getting your thought stream. I was playing around with saying like intermittently, just like and scene, just like and scene. So you just like stop, like
and changing how you feel at that point.
Okay, so that's over. That thought stream's over. The monologue is over. Now let's rehearse and go back through what did I say? Like what study it?
That's amazing.
Right. So, but it was working. I only did it a couple times, but it was interesting to do it. Like
that's super interesting.
And scene because the
opposite. The world is a stage.
Because what's the opposite of that?
You're
action.
just carrying it on.
Action.
Right, action.
Action. So go. We're going
and
now.
we go.
And then stop.
But then if there is no stop, you carry your bullshit on.
Imagine being in a play where there's no end to the play.
Dude.
That's Well, yes, so yeah.
Been there too. When the play fucking never stops. So what we've learned is I'm fucking Captain America is my like higher self.
Avatar?
Is the Avatar. And the Shadow is like Chris Farley. And you're Doctor Strange. And the
Robin
Shadow
Williams.
is like Robin Williams. So that's pretty cool. So, so the second law of emotion, instead of force equals mass times acceleration, we're saying suffering equals pain times the resistance to it. Physical, mental, emotional pain, triggers to pain are never ever going to stop, but you have the choice to take a deep breath, not resist it, become aware, accept it, integrate it, alchemize it to express it in a healthy, authentic way and minimize or eliminate, but let's say minimize suffering.
Yes.
Okay? So the third law of Sir Isaac Newton is every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So we're saying every emotion has an equal and opposite emotion, or every emotion has an equal and opposite vibrational energy, right? So if we're looking at a chart of lower vibration, it's in higher vibrations, fear and guilt and shame are going to be at the bottom. And love and peace and enlightenment are going to be at the top. And I don't remember the order of the whole middle, but we're going to give you basically what this is a play on duality.
Yeah.
So we're talking about as much force as you push into an object is as much
Force is going to come back.
Force is going to come back on the other way. So it's the same thing with emotions, right? So
well, and like before we even get into that,
yeah,
like
because I had something too.
The physics of that, like physically, that's we talk about the physical material world is energy and vibration too, right?
Of course.
So
everything is energy. We started with
that. Yeah. So when we talk, just so people realize,
yes.
like when I'm pushing into the ground, pushing off energy into energy. So emotion, energy and energy is the same exact thing, just expressed differently.
Same. Different type. You're talking kinetic energy versus potential energy and different types of energy.
Energy.
But still energy nonetheless. And what I was thinking was the whole game of, once again, I'm not going to say Illuminati, Freemasons, reptilian elites, or whatever the fuck, but they, yeah. The powers that be, their game is fear, because that's how you brainwash and control a population for greed and power, right? So they put out fear through politics and media. But the opposite of fear is love. Whoa. So it's better to love yourself, know yourself, love yourself, than to live in fear, because the only thing you have to fear is fear itself. Fear is a construct and a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier that, or maybe we didn't mention earlier, but I want to mention now, you adopt or you assimilate into your vibration the energy that you allow in, right?
Boom.
So if you're allowing, so for one, if I know myself, done the work, explored, I know that I, at my being, my heart is love, then fear cannot inhibit my vibration. But if I don't know I'm that, and fear leaks in, now that's altering who I am, and now I'm identifying with that fear, right?
I feel so bad with these brainwashed zombies that believe everything on TV, and that's said, and they don't know their self, and they're not confident in their self, and that seeps in. Yeah. Now they're living in fear, and they have a low vibration.
And with the duality thing, you can't exist in a state of fear and a state of love simultaneously.
At the same damn
This
time,
cannot work.
and you can't.
But the best part is they're duality. So you can go from one to the other. If you're afraid, then you can feel love. If you can
freedom.
But that's just awareness.
That's just your mindset shift. That's your choice to switch that faucet from hot to cold, to do whatever you want. And freedom is in here and in here. They can take our lives, but
they'll never take our freedom.
They're never going to take our freedom.
That's my best Scottish accent I got.
All right, that was beautiful. Because that's the thing. You want to talk about vibes, it's hippie bullshit, man. I don't know about that, but here's the thing. Lower vibrational energies and emotions that we're talking about lowers your immune system.
Yeah.
And just fucks up your day.
Yeah, well, you both felt it. Like you've been there.
Everybody knows that. Yeah. So if you're not going to believe the vibrational scale, which is a real thing, and you can't measure.
Be angry for a couple of years and let me know what that does to your body. Oh, just
plenty
of science to show that.
Big time. So that's where we started, is fear and love. All right. So once again, love is not. You think you're in love with someone, but what they did was trigger the love that's inside of you.
There's that trigger.
They showed you. Yeah. So triggers are not always bad. Triggers are just sparks to express what's inside you already.
Yeah. Same thing. That's what a drug is, right? This external thing makes me feel love. I need this external thing. That's why you get people clinging in relationships which been on both ends of those spectrums, and friendships, romantic
Was that,
relationships.
Salvador? He was like, I don't do drugs, I am drugs.
Ah.
And that was Terrence McKenna. He goes,
And that was Kesha. Your love is my drug.
Okay, that's a good one. And I forget if it was Dennis or Terrence McKenna, but he was like, we're all drug dealers and we're all holding because it's all inside you. So it's like, yeah, you can smoke 5-MeO-DMT or you could secrete DMT from your pineal gland through breathing exercises, dreams.
And that's what attachment is. You attach the feeling to the object that gave you the feeling, right?
So,
but when you say it's perfect, it's a trigger. So like it's the
trigger.
faucet.
So if you love someone so much that you feel you're going to die without them, are you really going to die? Or does it just feel like that?
Well.
And you can let it go. Right, easier said than done.
Yeah.
But that's the truth
That's
at the
the
end
truth.
of the day.
The truth is the truth, no matter what.
Thank you. So love and fear, and we don't want to live in fear because there's nothing to fear. And point is, you start with loving yourself, and that radiates out to anything that you love, okay? My biggest one that I like to talk about is guilt. How the fuck does guilt serve you?
Guilt.
It does not. So I say trade in your guilt for gratitude. Yeah. Instead of, oh my God, I'm so sorry for being late, it's thank you for being patient with me. You just change your vibration, their vibration, the vibration, and the mood of the whole room. All right? Holding on to guilt and shit that you can't change is a lot different than when you start walking around grateful to be alive. And I used to wake up with guilt and regrets every morning for the fucked up shit I did. Now I wake up and I'm full of gratitude.
Yeah.
For just life in general. And specific people, like what I've been writing down is you and the people that support me, to support us and stuff like that, like the positive feedback we've been getting. I'm so grateful for that. I'm walking around amazing. High as shit all day. Bro, amazing.
Walking on clouds.
I felt it when you said it.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm walking on a cloud, and I used to be the guy with fucking poop in my pants, walking down the street with my head down, kicking a can with the cloud like Eeyore.
Diaper dragging on the ground?
Not good. And I was like, oh, I don't have to hold on to this. That's bullshit. So now I'm just fucking grateful for everything.
And with guilt, and this is a Viktor Frankl said this too, like guilt can be a positive thing. It can be a tool to learn.
If you learn from it, right.
Yes.
It's a tool to learn.
Tool to
not
learn.
to hold on
or to identify with.
I'm the guilty one. No. So trade in your guilt for gratitude. Gratitude is one of the highest vibrations there is. That's some good shit. That is the, even like Dispenza and stuff, when we're talking about the quantum field, out into the field and stuff, you're cruising through with gratitude. Gratitude's rowing the boat.
Ooh.
More than love, even.
Yeah. Because it's because we talk about manifestation, which is all about. Gratitude is I have.
Already have. Because if you are in a state of lack, the body just wants to survive. But if you're aware that there's abundance and you're grateful for it, then the universe provides. So once you're worthy and grateful, the world is yours. You have the keys to the universe.
And it doesn't even matter the what. It's the first part of the sentence. I have, I don't have.
I am, or I have, and then boom, get ready to receive it. And that's where it's fucking be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Because everything's been coming true.
Unconsciously or subconsciously, that's why you got to do the work.
Whatever you say after I am or I have is coming. Because the universe is a fucking boomerang. And if you're putting out good shit out there, good shit's coming. And if you're putting out negative shit's coming.
And vice versa, right? If you're not, what I just said about allowing other people's energy to impact your own. If I say you are a bum, and you accept that, well, now I've just manifested your feelings for you.
Your bumness
for you. I crazed your bumness. I made you.
Other people's opinions of you are none of your business. I don't give a damn what people say. If someone says I'm awesome, I'm like, thank you. I am awesome. If someone says I suck, I'm like, thanks for sharing. I know I'm dope. I've already done my work.
You can't see me.
You can't fucking see me, dog. You got to come a little better than that.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, I'm going to hurt your feelings. I'm going to make fun of you. No. It's either going to be funny and I'm going to laugh.
Yeah.
Or I'm not.
And now that person who's like, I'm going to hurt your feelings, you think you're hurting Sean, but now what you've become is the kind of person that says shit to hurt other people's feelings. Boy. That's who you are.
Because you haven't done your work, and you're just throwing rocks at a mirror right now. Because that's the thing. So I'm either going to laugh because it's self-deprecating humor because you were being facetious and it actually is funny, or I'm going to fucking feel bad for you for trying to bring somebody down to your level.
And you're going to try to raise them up.
And I'm going to try to raise them up with compassion and empathy.
By Aikidoing that energy into
Just
something
judo.
beautiful.
Like they're coming at you. Instead of fucking bang going into that energy, I just step to the side and go, "Voop," take their energy and move them fucking with them. All right? So, once again, Jesus said, pray as if it has already happened. You don't say, oh, I wish, I hope, I whatever. It's thank you for the fucking gifts I'm about to receive. That's how you do that shit. All right? So that's whatever you want to call it. Spirituality, religion, science, quantum physics. Spirituality, religion, science. Same. Bridge together.
Bridge it.
All right? Apathy.
Apathy.
Okay? Apathy is like, I don't give a fuck because everything sucks, essentially.
Yeah.
I was apathetic for a long time. And apathy's fucking twin brother is depression. And it's not fun.
Yeah.
They walk around together all the time.
Holding hands.
Skipping down the fucking street.
Doing double dutch.
Double dutching in and out on my goddamn brain. All right? And now, what I have instead is empathy. Because, right, we've alchemized apathy into empathy. All right? Empathy is to, instead of feeling nothing and despair, empathy is feeling for and feeling with someone else. Okay? So we can talk about that as cheering for your team in a good feeling or feeling sorrow with
which is
someone
what
else.
Most it's usually referred to. But
Big time. You got anything else on that, or should we move on? Because those are big. Empathy's huge.
It's huge. Let's get to some of the other ones.
So right now we're looking at, because now I'm going to start dropping the negative ones. We're looking at love. We're looking at gratitude. We're talking about empathy. Here's a good one: desire
disarray
versus contentment. All right. So if you're desiring,
this is all Buddhism right here.
because the desire to not desire is still desire. So that's a tricky fucking one, which is more like a Zen koan, where it's like, okay, I'm learning because I can't figure it out, but at least I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: desire. This is how I can explain it. Is once again you're assuming lack. You want something that you don't have. So right now you're in a shitty situation, and you're never gonna get something that you don't have. But if you feel like you already have it, and you have the belief that you already have it, and you have the gratitude for it, and then you put the work in, it's coming. Trust me. So what you want is contentment. So if you trade in your desire for contentment, it's like the quote, and I'm totally going to misquote this one, where it's like, instead of wanting more stuff, you need to be happy with the stuff you have. Content with the stuff you already have.
Yeah, and there's like a Buddhist practice, I learned about this from Thich Nhat, but during a meditation, just bring a really, really small smile, a small grin.
Oh.
Not even a happy, like you're not forcing it. Just like
not forcing.
Just a little, just a little smile, like a half smile. Just practice that during meditation. Changes your brain chemistry for one.
I smile. It's a good practice to do in the mirror because it's easier because you see it the same way you can get a better mind-muscle connection when you see yourself in the mirror. The mirror is not for seeing how pretty you are. It's to see other people around you in the gym.
Maybe not
in the
you.
gym, the mirror.
Okay.
Right. Speak for yourself, buddy. The mirror in the gym is to not see how pretty you are or to fucking spy on other people. It's to see if anybody's behind you when you're picking up dumbbells and to make an eye-mind-muscle connection with the proprioception of your nervous system to have better form and neurological connection to the muscle. So what I'm saying is that smile, I do it in the mirror. And I also do it while journaling. When I'm writing my manifestations and saying I'm grateful for this and this is coming, I fucking feel rich and happy and whole and complete and healthy.
Oh, yeah.
And it feels good.
That's
and it feels good.
That's really good.
I've tried every drug in the book, and fucking love and gratitude got them all beat.
Gratitude is so good,
It's all good. So trading in desire for content. Being happier with what you have instead of always seeking more material shit. Because there's not enough fucking shoes and beers and pizzas and dresses in the world. You can't always just add to cart and fucking snap another cold one. Because it's never going to run out. There's, that's the thing about addiction. You can never get enough of something that almost works. Because then you're just chasing the dragon for forever. Then you're just chasing the dragon for forever. Oh, that was fun. Need a little more. Piece candy. Piece candy. Piece candy. And then you fucking got diabetes. All right?
Diabetes.
So non-attachment, non-desire, contentment. Feel whole and feel complete. Because guess what? You're perfect. Sorry to be the one that breaks it to you, but I'm not sorry. You
Not
have no
sorry.
problem. Where are your problems? They're either in the past, which is in your mind, or in the future, which is in your mind. So a past problem of depression is a fictional construct in your mind. A future problem of anxiety is a fictional construct in your mind. It's whether you're going to believe those stories or not that give them power. Because now I can make up this story that, instead of making up a story that, oh my God, I have anxiety, something bad is going to happen, only good things happen to me. My glass is not only half full, but it's beautiful and it's delicious and it's cold and the light is shining on it and I'm grateful for it. And that's the path that I'm on. So that's desire and contentment. All right.
Nice.
Here's probably the lowest one there is shame.
Jamais.
Okay. Shame is why everybody does what they do and wears the triple mask, which is a quadruple entendre at this point, with the fucking stupid masks and the metaphorical masks of trying not to be shamed, right? Because shame is a feeling of unworthiness, and we've already talked about, to manifest things and to have happiness and completeness and wholeness, you have to be worthy and grateful. So if you feel unworthy and shameful from a primal emotional standpoint, since we are primal tribal pack animals, you feel like your genetics, your DNA feels like you're going to be ostracized from the tribe and kicked out into the woods, and you will die. And the ego doesn't want to die, so it feels shame. Okay?
Shame.
So I'm saying trade in your shame for compassion. Okay? The root word of compassion is passion, which the etymology in Latin of passion is to suffer. So you suffer for your passion because you love it so much. So compassion is you suffer with someone. Holy moly. So instead of shaming someone, you can have compassion for them. And I think the mindful practice there is putting yourself in somebody else's shoes.
I think shame's one of the biggest. It's the biggest issues.
Love and fear are big, but like those are like abstract because they're so big.
Yeah, but like
shame is so big
because it's also at such a large level. We feel so culturally there's shame, right? Talk about body image, talk about race, we talk about religion.
It's just bullshit.
Yeah, but it's the identification with the constructs, and then there's also shaming others to feel righteous within yourself, right?
Righteousness is another
righteous one. Right? So it's like it's and what is it? We talk about not worthy of love, right? That's what it is. Not worthy of love. Love is what you are. So you're not worthy of even being yourself. That's what people feel when they say shame. So anytime you say shame on you, and how many generations in our past was that a common thing? It's like shame on you. It was constantly shaming children, constantly shaming each other. We all still do it now.
This is what you just said. Enlightenment is authenticity. And if you're not worthy of love, and we are love and light, you're not even worthy to be yourself and your authentic true self. And that's a bunch of fucking bullshit.
Yeah. And that's not something maybe you consciously think, but that's what's getting programmed into your head.
That's your fucking lifestyle.
Been there, done that.
Because here's the thing with equal and opposite reaction. You have thoughts, and repetitive thoughts become a feeling or an emotion. Repetitive feelings and emotions become a belief. And then your belief systems, when you attach to them, become your attitude. And then you could have a negative attitude, which gets negative behaviors. And your behaviors are your actions that lead into your lifestyle. And your lifestyle is your way of life. Okay? So like I said, that's the flow chart of mindful of your thoughts, because they will become your emotions, and then they become your beliefs, and then they become your attitude, and they become your actions or your behavior, and they become your lifestyle. So once again, that's your choice of what path you want to walk. That's heaven and hell right there.
And that's like, I like the way that's outlined, like you went from thought to lifestyle. So what we're doing is kind of reverse engineering. We're going to the root.
Sir.
We're getting to the root of the feelings, the root of the thoughts.
Boom. And that's the same thing we do with training. We put the goal there, and we find, which is our point B, and then we become aware of our point A, and we reverse engineer it, and what exercises and foods and recovery practices do we need to get to our goal.
Yep.
Same exact thing. We have this lifestyle. What lifestyle do you want? Okay, I want to be healthy and whole and complete and wealthy.
Let's start thinking like it first.
Well, so first you think it, then you feel it, then you believe it, then you start acting like it, and then you start living it.
Then it becomes a behavior, and boom.
Boom. Okay, so let's go back to, let's hammer out another couple of emotions. So we're going to trade in our shame and unworthiness for compassion. So instead of shaming others, feel for others. Okay? Now, here's a big one for me that I'm working on. Anger. All right? So any anger and rage, it can be a gift if you transmute it into a creative energy, right? Because anger is a lot of spicy energy, right? And anger is just fear wrapped in a fucking crispy nougat shell.
Taquito.
Yeah. but one of them 7-Eleven fucking taquitos rolling under the lamp for a week.
I love this.
Dude, of course.
What an invention that was.
Somebody's fucking on a yacht right now, getting their fucking nails
they
done.
rolled hot dogs under a heat lamp.
All right. So anger, we're going with the opposite, equal and opposite emotion of anger is peace. So when you have inner peace, you have happiness and bliss. Peace. So happiness is a weird word because I say happy, but happy is like a cookie and orgasm. Yeah, like a quick,
it's a reactionary
reactionary thing. But inner peace and bliss and joy is the opposite of anger. Because when you're holding on to anger, it's like holding on to a hot coal, and you're like, I'm trying to hurt that person. And you're just burning yourself, and you have to let it go.
I'd say those are opposites in more than one way.
Oh yeah,
they're opposites in the sense of the feeling, but they're also the opposite in the sense that anger is almost always reactionary, and then peace is a resting state of being, right? So one's a reaction, huge. One's resting, one is
that's huge.
Or tension, fear, one is love, right?
So don't drink that anger poison. You're angry at somebody else, and you want to hurt them. So you drink the poison anger. That's only going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt them.
Well, everybody's everybody. So technically.
Yeah, but that's how the universe. That's why you should take care of your own shit. All right, so here's one: grief and regret. You don't want to hold on to those things. It's better to have acceptance and forgiveness. We've already talked about forgiveness is the biggest and greatest gift you can give yourself, and accepting and letting go of grief. Because grief, once again, the pain of grief is kind of inevitable. But
it's
how
necessary.
Long,
it's a process.
But how long you're going to drag out that suffering is up to you. All right. Anything else on grief, like processing grief? Because we've all been through it.
Yeah.
I can give you the Buddha story of just compassion, empathy, and acceptance. A lady, her son died, and she was so sad. And she's, oh, my baby. Nobody understands. This is the fucking worst feeling ever. My child died, and she's grieving, and she's regretting and grieving. And she goes to the Buddha, and the Buddha goes, all right, this is what I'm going to do for you.
I like it. Okay,
I see what you're saying. It's right? Like when you go see Tony Soprano at the strip club, this is what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. You're going to go around to everybody in the village, and you're going to bring me a grain of salt from a house that has never felt your pain before. And she came back the next day, and she wasn't crying, and she says, I understand. Because everybody gone through some shit. And you feel like you're alone, and you're the only one in a goddamn universe that have felt these despair and grief, horrible feelings. And I've felt like I was alone many times, but guess what? You are not alone.
Not alone.
So that's acceptance of your grief, letting go of regret and forgiving, and not holding on to grief and accepting what you can't change. That would be back to my mindful practice of can't change it. She was like, oh, I understand, it still sucks that my son died. But I'm not alone, and I can't do anything about it, so I'm going to accept it. Yeah. And that's a process. And my biggest thing is where we'll end is optimism and pessimism. As far as duality, every single thing, you are in control of looking at the glass half full or not. Every single situation, the entire universe is conspiring for me. Things don't happen to me, they happen for me. And everything is fucking great. Only good things happen. In the moment, they may seem like shit, but when you zoom out 3 months, 3 years later, that's a good thing. Okay, so that is a mindset shift.
Yeah, and even if you're forcing yourself to believe that, whatever's going to happen is going to happen anyway. Boom. Right? So so why believe that you can't?
One of the best sayings is "fake it till you make it," and people. It got popular because it rhymes, but people hate it because they hear the word fake and they don't want to be fake. So I'm going to say, faith it until you make it.
Whoa.
Just believe in the universe. Have faith in the universe. Our man, Crone Dog, Peter Crone, says, I'm a trust fund baby. And he goes, not because I have a trust fund. My parents didn't leave me shit. He goes, because I trust the universe 100%.
Yo.
So when you have full acceptance and trust, you can live an optimistic, high vibrational life. So love yourself, take care of your shit, process your emotions properly.
Faith it till you make it.
And faith it till you make it. Raise the vibration of the earth so we can transcend to 5D, baby. Choice is yours. Peace.